Hello guys, Gobbledegger here, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing set number 71808, Kai's Elemental Fire Mech. So this set retails for $24.99 in the UK, contains 322 pieces, 4 minifigures and 2 builds. So without further ado, let's take a further look at the set. So here we have our first build of the mech, and this is just a smaller mech for one of the wolf warriors of this set. So it's really nice to get this here included, because it's just something that can go alongside your Kai mech and you have something to battle against. So it does follow the main colour scheme of the villains of this wave, having the really dominant dark blue here with the accents of the teal and lighter blue on the sides and stuff. So just taking a look, it's definitely a unique shape and definitely a first for Ninjago here. And I feel like this design fits the sort of characterization of the villains really well. But you can see it's a very wiry and long sort of mech rather than being compact and proportional. The arms are definitely the most interesting part, where they use these pieces here in black. They just remove this Nexonite shield with a mixel attachment joint there. So it just gives the arm some extra length as it attaches to one of the Evo mech joint pieces in that light blue colour again, which just gives it some really nice long arms which are articulated at the shoulder and the wrist. And there's 2 little claw blades here. We got some of those armour pieces in the dark blue which have been introduced with Ninjago, I'm pretty sure. And then the cockpit uses the new Evo cockpit piece, which just slots in here. Then you attach your minifigure to those 2 studs at the bottom there. And taking a look at the legs, they use these sort of plate pieces in the light blue colour as the sort of legs, the upper part of the leg, sorry, which gives it a nice natural bend, which allows for the attachment of the mixel joints, so we get some ankle articulation with some more claws at the bottom. And they've used these black rock pieces to emulate fur, and sporadically throughout the build, sort of on the back here as well, just up here. And there is just a small little tail at the back, which is just mostly black in colour with a small blue stud in the middle. So that's the first build. So now let's move on to Kai's mech, which is the main part of the set. So here we have Kai's mech, and I was definitely pleasantly surprised with this one. I had it fully built. It's definitely probably one of the best elemental mechs out of the 4 that you can get at the moment. So as you can see, it has the typical sort of mech articulation at the sort of hips with the legs. Shoulder articulation, there is no elbow articulation because they do use the Evo joints for the elbows there, just to give the arm a little bit of a bend. There's no wrist articulation, but there is articulation at the ankles here. So taking a closer look at the build, you can see this one also uses the Evo mech cockpit piece, but in red. And it just has the new Dragon's Rising insignia on the front there, which is actually a printed piece. So if we just pull that down, you can see Kai sits down there on those 2 studs there. So if we place them back in. And they've done some nice accent with the gold pieces, so they're not dominated throughout the build. They're just sporadically used, like on the arms here. Then moving to the arms themselves. These are probably the most interesting part of the build, because they've used the lightning pieces that were introduced with the original Dragon's Rising releases in 2023, but obviously in transparent orange, to represent fire. And I feel like they've achieved that really nicely here, with the ones at the elbows being on little mixel joints, so you can actually move them to where you please. So you can sort of imagine they're sort of flaring around and like obviously acting like firewood, instead of being completely static. And then up here on the shoulders, they're just attached on this little pin here, which could be swiveled around, and they can't move side to side because they actually are attached by a Technic axle. Then to cover up the shoulder joint, they actually use the new mech armor piece just on these hinges here. So that just covers up some of the build nicely, and obviously just gives some nice roundness to the shoulders and makes it look complete. And one of my favourite parts is definitely the hands, how they use these mech fingers. Because the one problem I had with the Cole mech is just the 2 fingers basically being connected together and you can't move them independently. But here you can actually move all 3 fingers attached to the mech independently from one another. And as you can see, there is a Technic pin here, which just allows you to pick what hand you want to put the weapon in. So he does come with this giant sword here, which uses the big blade piece, which I think was introduced with the Evo sets as well, ironically enough. And there's just a really simple assembly here with some Technic pieces and the little pins, so you can actually attach it to the mech here. So that just slides in just like so, just as any other accessory with a Technic pin would there. And it does have some room, so you can actually angle a little bit. So it sort of makes up for the lack of wrist articulation, where you can actually slightly angle the sword in different directions, left to right. They're obviously limited to the assembly of the hand, so you can't pose it crazily, but it gives you that nice little option to give you some flow in the build. So as you can see, just moving it there, you can get it straight into a natural sort of fighting pose straight away, just because of the way it's been built. Then moving to the legs, we've seen more of these armor pieces here, just in red. And they've done some really nice tiling off of the legs on the side, which is some simple curved tiles, and as well as some necks and knight shields sort of on the quads there. So that's really cool. And there is also some waist articulation, which I'll come back to in a moment, which links into the play feature of the sets. Then coming down to the feet, it's just a mostly black and red assembly. I like how they've done it here, because it breaks away from the main build, which is predominantly red and with accents of this reddish orange here. So it gives a nice contrast to the build. And it's just a really simple assembly, and they're quite flat. There's not really any toes. And then moving to the back, there is quite a lot of anti-studs, but I'm not too fussed about that. But it just sort of allows you to be able to attach any of your other accessories that you want to put on the back of here. So that's really cool. So yeah, that is Kai's mech, and I'm going to go and show you what some of the combinations look like with the Cole mech. So the first minifigure here is just one of the new Wolf Mask Warrior figures. And these are definitely heavily abundant in the sets in this wave and in the new March wave, which is really good. But I have reviewed him on the channel before. So as usual, he does come with this silver scimitar piece, so I should take that away from him. And he's got this really cool dark navy blue and purple, as well as some accents of the light azure colour again, with just some text on his robes there, just some of these blades, which have some metallic printing, which is quite cool. And that detailing does extend down to the legs as well as the feet. Flipping him around, he has that wolf insignia on his back in that light blue colour again. But the only difference with him and some of the other Wolf Mask Warrior you get in some of the other sets, he doesn't come with the shoulder pads. But that is because he is intended to be put inside of the mech. Then here we have his moulded hood piece, which is obviously dual moulded, which is really cool and nice to get another of. And he does have two face prints. This is his first one here, which just has the blue teeth and the blue eyes. Then the second being pretty much the same expression, but in just the plain silver and black eyes. So now let's move on to the next minifigure. So our next minifigure is one of the main villains, which is Jordana. And I'm pretty sure she was exclusive as of the release of this set, but I don't think she's exclusive anymore. I will come back to that later and confirm that. But she is a really nice character to get, because obviously she is a named character and it's such a cheap set. So she has some unique printing, which I think is very similar to Cinder's. And she also has the same sort of rough piece here with the sort of sandish blue colour just around her neck. And she has more of like a robe design rather than some sort of battle armour like the Wolf Warriors, with some more of that text on here with the wolf insignia just at the top of her chest there. And that sort of detailing does, again, extend down to the legs, which just continues that sort of robe printing, which is really cool in purple, with some nice knee and toe printing as well. Flipping it around, she has some more sort of armor plating design on the back, which is really cool, with some cool scuffs on there, so it gives it some sort of battle damage, which is quite cool. I really love that addition. And she, like Cinder, comes with a custom sword, which just uses one of these black horn pieces attached on a really dark grey lightsaber hilt with a tooth piece at the bottom. So that's a really nice, cool custom assembly. I really love how these swords look. And she does have two facial expressions here. Her first one, she's just sort of smiling and smirking. And she does have some gold printing on her face, because I'm pretty sure she is from Imperium in the first Dragon's Rising season. I'm yet to be able to see part 2 of that, but I will get to it eventually. And she does have this really cool dark red hairpiece. I've not got any hairpieces in this colour before. And it's just a little ponytail with a little quiff at the front, which is quite cool. I really love that piece. It's really cool. I don't have it yet, so it's nice to get in the collection. Then her second face is sort of a shocked and sort of worried sort of expression, which is quite cool. It's not often you see these on minifigures. So that's just a nice secondary expression you get, and obviously great part usage there, just to be able to have two expressions. So now let's move on to the ninja. So our first ninja here is Mech Zane, and he does follow his light blue and white colour scheme, so that's really nice to get, because it's only been recently he started to adopt this sort of dual colour scheme here, but it definitely works very well for him. and creates a nice unique minifigure. So he does have just some of that sort of plated armor here up the front in white with the sort of white, the light blue underbelly, with just his symbol in the gold printing there, like the other ninja do in this wave, with his belt, with some of that armor printing continuing down to his legs there, and as well as knees and feet. He does come with the shoulder pad and scabbard, which it goes with his accessory of the set, which is just a golden katana, which you can just put in there, which is really nice. And his mask is dual molded, which is really cool. I love how that looks with these new ninja suits. And taking his mask off, you can see his first face, which is just a really stern look and really neutral expression. So that's really nice, because we have been getting the sort of angry Zane face for the longest time now. So it's really nice to get this face more commonly in more sets. Then his second face is sort of the weird digital Prime Empire-esque face, which is just showing you there with the mask on. But he just has a really angry expression with some really futuristic sort of robotic eyes with some ice shards going down. Then just removing his scabbard so you can see his back torso detailing. It does have his name in the jargon on the back in gold there, with some more of that printing of the armor going down, which is almost like it's supposed to represent dragon scales, where I really like that. So now let's move on to Kai. So here we have Kai. His design is obviously very similar to Zane's, because all the mech suit ninja have the same design, but obviously they adopt their own colour scheme, and obviously their symbols are different on each of them. But he uses the combo of the dark red and normal red colour, which is really cool. It reminds me of his Hands of Time suit, so it's not often you really see him use the dark red colour. But I quite like how it looks here, how it's used as the undertones here, with the main colour being the base red here. I feel like the only problem is the gold printing. It's really hard to see on the red minifigure here. So some of it just sort of blend in a little bit compared to someone like Zane, where the gold accents actually stand out on his minifigure. But that's all good. His belt is in that orange colour again, and he does have gold hands here. I forgot to mention that about Zane. Just flipping him around. Same sort of case here. It says his name in the jargon, and just like I was saying, it's actually really hard if the light's not reflecting on the metallic printing to actually see the gold there, so you actually have to tilt him. But he again has that sort of dragon scale sort of armor on his back there, like Zane does. But taking a look at his head, he too has two facial expressions. His first one just being sort of a simple smirk here, which is a nice expression which was introduced with the 2023 Dragons Rising minifigures. Then flipping his head around, same situation as Zane here. He's got that weird sort of visor piece, but obviously more representative of his element, which is obviously fire. And I'll just quickly show you that with his mask on. So there you go, that's how it looked with the mask. And he too does come with a golden katana as his accessory, sorry. So both of the ninjas come with two golden katanas, and the wolf warriors obviously come with their own respective weapons. So that's all the minifigures. Let's move on to the final thoughts. So in conclusion, I'd definitely say this is the best out of the 4 elemental mech sets that are currently on the shelves at the moment. Especially just because you get 2 mechs for the price of 1. And as well, I feel like the Kai's mech model is probably just the most well-rounded out of all of them. It is sort of like a cliche. Kai gets a lot of mech sets or just vehicles in general, but I feel like they've definitely done his the best here. But I can see why people wouldn't like it, because obviously it's a Kai mech. It's just sort of another, like, just plain red vehicle or whatever. But I feel like they've done it really nicely here, and it's definitely unique. And I love the scale in which they've done these mechs, is where rather than just being the giant typical mechs we get now, it's just a nice alternative and cheaper way to actually get a mech set and actually be able to enjoy it. Because I love the posability of the sets as well. But I feel like the addition of the Wolf Warrior mech is just really nice to be able to have something to battle against the mech here. So you don't have to go out and buy 2 sets. You can get 1 and basically get a complete play set. But as well, the minifigures you're getting too, the Kai and the Zane, are really nice, as well as being able to get Jordana, and as well as another one of these Wolf Goons. So I feel like the value is really there for this set. I'd recommend to pick this one up if you're obviously a Kai fan, or if you're looking at all of these elemental mechs together in one picture and you only want to get one, definitely get this one, because you get 1 Kai mech, a villain mech, and 4 good minifigures. So if you want to check out some more LEGO videos on my channel, I'm going to leave some on the end card now, so you can check out those videos as well. So without further ado, I'm going to sign out and goodbye. So for those that are familiar with these new elemental mechs, one of the main play features with them is to actually be able to interchange the pieces between one another. So you can actually separate them from the hips and the arms and basically mix and match to your heart's content. So there's lots of different combinations. And as well with the March wave, which also introduced Lloyd's mech, so you get another option there. But some of the ideas come from, you might want to swap the legs around of Cole and Kai's mech to, it's a bit tough there, to make Kai's mech a bit more stubby and short, whereas Cole can be a lot taller now. So there's just some of the ways you can do that. You can obviously take off the arms as well and switch out the weapons, so you can customize it how much you want. And also because the legs are also on ball joints, so you can actually give them 2 different legs if you wanted to, which I don't see why you would do that with especially these two, because the legs are not the same length, so you have him just on some hoppy leg here. But that's a really nice play feature. I really love this about these sets, is that you can basically customize and swap the parts between them. So without further ado, let's move on to the minifigures.